Okay, so I know that Twitter has made some messy decisions, but the number one reason to defend Twitter has always been that it kind of functions as a pretty good public square where people debate ideas. But now, Instagram has launched a Twitter competitor. So today on the show, the battle over social media dominance. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Listen, it is not a secret at this point that things at Twitter are chaotic, right? Like Elon Musk keeps introducing these rules. A day or two later, he keeps changing them. But the conversation about Twitter's future took an interesting turn last week because Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, launched a Twitter clone. It's an app called Threads, and it's connected to your Instagram account. And it's been live for maybe 4-5 days now, and it already has more than 70 million users. And speaking as someone who has been on Twitter for like a really long time, like don't ask how long time, this is the first app that I've seen where I go, oh, this could do it. This could be the thing that kills Twitter. That is new territory. Lots have tried. This is kind of uncharted territory in terms of a competitor that really could take down Twitter. And the reason that this matters is that it's not just the collapse of some tech billionaire's passion project. Twitter kind of is a space that felt like a public square for a long time, or at least as close to a public square as you've had on the internet. So what happens to it now? Alyssa Breznak is with The Ringer and a regular with us right here on Commotion. She's in LA. And Siva Vaidyanathan is a columnist with Slate and The Guardian. He's also a professor of media studies at the University of Virginia, and he's in Charlottesville. Siva, Alyssa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Alyssa, listen, let me start with you on this one. Let's start with the new thing, and that's Threads. You joined hours after it launched, I assume. What's it like?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's like pretty much just like Twitter in the sense that you post things and you can quote thread. And
Yes.
You can't, right now there's some limitations. You can't search for hashtags and you can't actually follow like just a straight feed of the people or like see a straight feed of the people you follow. But for the most part, it's a copycat of Twitter.
Yeah.
And it feels like the first day of school or like the first week of school. Like everyone's sort of getting their sea legs and kind of unsure about how to post and what to do because it's a different set of people in your feed. It's basically imported from your Twitter feed, all those followers. And that's different than what your Twitter feed might be.
I should say, listen, on Twitter, a post is called a tweet. We have a name for it. Do we have a name for whatever is going on Threads? One of my colleagues here, Shuli, was like, we should call it threatening. Like each post is a threat.
It's a threat.
You post a threat. It was.
Yeah.
I'm sure Meta.
Do we have a name yet?
Yeah.
You don't get control over the thing that your users say, right? Like this happened on Blue Sky, the Twitter, the other Twitter competitor, where the first few days users were calling a post skeet, Siva, because there's something to be said about how a culture gets organically born, right?
Yeah. So let me be the downer for this part of the conversation, and maybe all of it.
Sure.
So yeah, it is kind of like the first day of school. It's like the first day of ninth grade, but all of a sudden you find you have your first grade teacher. Because so this is Meta, right? This is a company we're way too deeply familiar with and already has so much influence on our lives, on our culture, on our politics, on our commerce, right? This is the old boss, but the old boss who's used to dealing with far less mature material, right? First grade teacher teaching ninth grade all of a sudden. So look, this is run by Adam Mosseri. It's run by Instagram. This is Instagram without the cute golden retriever pictures. This is Instagram without the fun, right? It's boring as hell. I'm sorry. Granted, it's only been a week, but if I want Instagram, I'm on Instagram. If I want like thorny, nasty, mix it up stuff, I wish I could still do that on Twitter at a certain level. Now it's just dealing with trolls and Nazis. But so like really the idea that you could recreate Twitter circa 2010 through 2020, it's just impossible. So and let's remember also Twitter was a spectacular failure in almost every measurable way from the beginning.
As a
to
company,
the end.
you mean?
It never made money.
Never made money.
It never had more than 250 million followers, which sounds like a big number until you compare it to the 3 billion on Facebook, the 2 billion on Instagram, the 2 billion using WhatsApp, right? The 1.5 billion using WeChat, which is the only other viable company. There are 2 viable companies out of China that are threatening Meta's eyeball time, right?
Yeah.
Twitter was nothing. Twitter was never in the top 10 social media platforms in the world ever. It's never made a dime. Look, you want to know what the Twitter killer app is? It's Twitter. It was killing itself. It still is. It will continue.
It's a bummer note, but it's true, Alyssa, in the sense that like the sort of explosive and everybody kind of feeling in the mix culture of Twitter is the thing that has not been replicated. So like you mentioned a few minutes ago, that when you are on Threads, this new app, the people that you are sort of, the posts that you're seeing are from people that Meta says you might be interested in this. And Twitter doesn't do that to the same extent. For the most part, it's usually people that you're following. They have started to sort of introduce some people that you're not following into your feed. But the culture of Threads, as far as I've noticed, is a lot of like, all right, good morning, everybody. Let's have a great day. And the culture on Twitter is entirely different. So in your experience, Alyssa, how is the Threads culture different?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the makeup of the people you follow on Instagram is a lot different than on Twitter. And because anyone can sort of post a photo on Instagram and have it be mildly interesting, but it takes a lot more to be charismatic and compelling in just text.
Yeah.
And so I follow a lot of celebrities and brands on Instagram, and they are just kind of like, hey, what's up? Like they don't have anything to say about news or politics. Yeah. And in fact, Instagram's head, Adam Mosseri, has said that they're not interested in courting politics or news as sort of major sources on this new Threads app, which is concerning. Like it's right. But they basically want there to be sports and entertainment, and the fact that his thought that maybe those things don't actually intersect with news or politics is a whole different story. But go ahead.
I'm sorry. I mean, isn't that why we use Instagram? I follow like all my sports teams on Instagram. I follow the handful of celebrities I still care about on Instagram, and it's lovely because it's video and it's images and it's sometimes memes and it's cute and fun and lively, and I get to interact with the people I've been building a community with for years. I don't know, like I go to Threads and it's all positive affirmations. Like it makes me yearn for the trolls. Like,
right.
So,
wow.
I don't see the value added, except I see this as a major troll in itself, right? Like Meta is trolling Elon Musk because it has the money to spend. It doesn't matter if it ever makes a dime. It's all about squeezing a handful more user engagement minutes out of people. Maybe as a landing place when Twitter goes under imminently for a lot of people, and maybe it grows into something minor and ultimately gets federated back with the blue borders of Facebook.
Yeah.
I just don't see the point, except that, they just thought that they could alleviate or put Twitter out of our misery sooner.
Well, but can I just say, go ahead, Alyssa, go ahead.
I was going to say, I also think it's a marketing opportunity for Mark Zuckerberg. And like just the headlines so far have been like, it's a huge win for him.
He can save us.
This is a rare moment where he like looks good. So I would say, especially just like given the sort of sub conversation about the cage match fight thing between Elon and him. Like,
that's the story of them literally maybe possibly fighting in a cage match. We should say, okay, so I know I share your reaction, Siva, when I sort of saw that story. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing here? But you know what I'm picking up from both of you here is this notion that actually Twitter matters more than we've, given it credit for some time. That there's something significant to be lost, and we're trying to replace it so desperately here. Right. What is that thing? What has Twitter given us, Siva?
So, I already outlined how limited Twitter was in terms of its impact in the larger world, but it had an outsized effect on a smaller, largely elite world. People like us, people in the media, people who are directly engaged with politics, people who are activists, but also people who had certain sort of cultural affiliations, because there were major cultural figures. But look, I think I'm still correct about this, the largest Twitter account on Twitter is Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India.
Sure.
He is the most popular social media politician in the world, probably the most popular politician in the world, right? Stuff happens on Twitter that matters, in the sense that a proclamation on Twitter still counts as news.
Yeah.
Even if only a few hundred people see it at any given time, it's still interpreted as news. And it's the sort of thing where people would like, what was the gap it filled in your day, right? You would go to Facebook to get pictures of your cousin's kid's wedding. You would go to Instagram to follow the San Antonio Spurs, my basketball team,
Sure.
or all the golden retrievers I follow, who are super cute and fun, right? And like, that's like positive, like fizzy, good feeling. And then you would go to Twitter for some serious stuff, or an argument, or just if you felt like being upset about something, and you wanted to vent about something, right? Yeah. That's a variety of human emotions and needs. And remember, every single one of these platforms is fundamentally an emotion machine, right? We talk about Twitter being a public square, being a place we talk about public affairs. Yeah, kind of. But the extent and way we talked about public affairs on Twitter, and I'm using the past tense all of a sudden, is emotional.
It still exists, Siva. Twitter is still sort of around, right?
Its fundamental emotion was indignation,
right?
And there has to be space and an outlet for indignation. I mean, obviously, we all overdid it. Even nice people on Twitter engage in way too much indignation for anyone's good, which is why ultimately I think it was corrosive to democracy and political culture and civic culture. Not good overall. So yeah, we can miss it when it goes away, but we should also recognize that we lived pretty well before it ever existed. And we did find ways to engage about public affairs, usually through media outlets like the one in which we are currently engaging.
I do think there's truth to that, to the idea that it sort of mattered a lot to journalists, but sort of media people, that some sort of element of the elite. That this has always been the criticism of the platform. But Alyssa, to me, there's a sense actually that Twitter did push the conversation. I certainly sort of, for at least for a period of time, it kind of set the news agenda, if you will.
Yeah,
what is the significance of it? Yeah,
for sure. I think it's really important to remember, like, people say that news is the first draft of history. And I think Twitter was like the scrawling on the page before the first draft. Like there was a lot of opportunity for journalists to access a lot of different perspectives. In some cases that could create a weird bubble where they were only seeing certain perspectives. But every journalist I know who came up like in the digital media era really used it as a resource for sources, as a way to vary the perspectives in their coverage. And in a lot of ways, it also helped prioritize certain news stories that other large media outlets who are gatekeepers in the space wouldn't have prioritized. Right. You think about the Black Lives Matter protest things. I really think that Twitter helped drive a lot of that activist conversation and forced it to the main sort of stage of conversation. Yeah.
So absolutely. And one of the reasons it was able to do that is that Twitter users invented hashtags, and Twitter quickly came up with hashtag search, something Adam Mosseri and Meta have decided to delay, if not
they're reluctant to do. They're reluctant to sort of get that.
And yet it's the core. If you're talking about civic engagement, it is the core function that they've left out.
Yeah. 30 seconds to each of you here. What's the future of all of this? How's the future of this going to unfold? Maybe, Steve, I'll start with you.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I'm no expert on the future. I barely have a handle on the past or the present. But all I can say is, like, Meta tends to win just about everything it does.
Yeah.
Because it has the cash, right? I mean, we talk about how it's been a bad 5 years for Meta. It's been a flat 5 years in North America.
Yeah.
It's been a flat 5 years in Western Europe. Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WeChat, WhatsApp have been surging in India, in Kenya, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Brazil, in Mexico, right? In places in the world that are growing, where the economies are growing, where there are tremendous numbers of young people. Facebook is everything. Let's not forget
Good to know.
that. The old-fashioned Facebook is still incredibly powerful in the world and makes a ton of money.
Well, Alyssa, just real quick, 20 seconds to you on this.
I would say just like look at what happened to Snapchat stories. Instagram completely copied that thing. No one uses Snapchat stories anymore. Like this is kind of what we're expecting for the future. And it's a thing that Meta does frequently. So yeah, Meta's probably going to win this one.
Wow. All money on Meta. Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next few months. Alyssa, Siva, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good. Cool.
Alyssa Bresnak is with The Ringer and a regular with us on Commotion. She's at LA. And Siva Vaidyanathan is a columnist with Slate and The Guardian. He's also a professor of media studies at the University of Virginia. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and you are listening to Commotion. Listen, this past Thursday, we found out who won this year's Prism Prize. It is a prize that's awarded to the best Canadian-made music video of the year. And this year's prize went to Sterling LaRose. He's based in Vancouver, and he directed the video for this song.
Damn right. Don't judge me, baby. Just smudge me, baby. Got the magic, baby. Just like my lady. We them Reds kids. Jacket with the fringe. Now we do it big. Now ain't that medicine wheels, medicine bags. Need you spiritual. Securing the bags across the land. We need the Beatles, bro. My hair too thick. The crown don't fit.
From Kitimat Village, British Columbia, that is Snotty Nose Res Kids with Damn Right. I don't know if you caught the lyric there. They refer to themselves as the native Beatles. And when it came time to make a music video for the song, well, Sterling LaRose took that line and he ran with it. His video features Snotty Nose Res Kids starring basically in their own version of the Beatles saga. I caught up with Sterling shortly after he won the award, and I started off by asking him just what inspired this video.
Damn Right, it's just a super fun song.
Yeah.
And the video needed to reflect that. I'm a huge Beatles fan, so it was kind of like a no-brainer that this would just be so fun to do.
Well, I was going to say, let's get more into detail about that, because this is the video that you won for. This is Damn Right. You said, that you kind of latched on to the Beatles line. I think it's kind of interesting because what you've created is like a fake biopic of Snotty Nose Res Kids. It's kind of told through all the very familiar to all of us sort of visual markers of the Beatles history, right? Like you're creating the album covers, the TV appearances. There's a sequence based on Get Back, the documentary that was recently made. Tell me, how did this concept kind of come about? Like in terms of you saying, "I've got the idea. It's going to be all Beatles," and then you went from there.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of playing with maybe we do an era or something. It could all just be like a Sullivan show, but I was like, no, it'd be really sweet just to see the whole arc of that decade long, all the big moments. I mean, I had just watched the Get Back doc, so I had to get something like that in there. But then naturally I had to finish with the Rooftop because that was the end of the Beatles, Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if you watch, listen, I know you're a true fan if you watch the entirety of the Get Back documentary, because that's so many hours of footage. But and truly, the video functions as this really loving tribute to the Beatles. From the very first frame, you're like, oh, this is someone who really loves the Beatles. But also, we got to talk about the fact that it is making a significant statement, right? By having this sort of DIY indigenous group kind of use the iconography of the world's most famous rock band. What kind of statement were you trying to make there?
Yeah, I mean, as they say in the song, we're native Beatles, bro. So that's kind of...
That sums it up, huh?
Yeah, it kind of sums it up. And I don't know, I think taking, this very British brand, iconography and brand, and taking that and saying, this is ours now is a really amazing statement. It wasn't always about recreating to a T. A lot of it was, but then it was also inflecting and infusing their identity and them in it. It's their version of this story. Yeah.
We should say, okay, I just got to ask you at this point in the video. There's a point in the video where you sort of recreate that big iconic cover of Sgt. Pepper, which of course is all the Beatles flanked by life-size cutouts of a bunch of notable historical figures and all these big symbolic props. How did you go about assembling that whole version that you did for SNRK? Who are the people they're surrounded by? What is the visual symbolism that you're working to that frame there?
Yeah, it's all like friends and family of the band, pretty much. Kind of decided for two reasons not to do like cutouts.
Yeah.
One, it was like definitely logistically maybe too expensive for us to do.
I could imagine. Yeah.
And I also thought it was just like it's a more like impactful thing if this is like, you know, this is us. And I think it bodes more to like the statement of the whole video if it's a group of people and not just cutouts, because this video is more doing what Sgt. Pepper's album cover intended. So kind of doing that within this video wouldn't make a lot of sense, where it's placing SNRK in the iconography, whereas the Sgt. Pepper's, you know, they're placing themselves in iconography of the world and, you know, all the historical figures and stuff. So yeah.
Well, listen, one last question before I let you go. You just won the Prism Prize. That's a really big deal. It honors the best Canadian-made music video of the year. And part of the reason this prize exists is that it's supposed to shine a light on all the great work in music videos that's being done in this country, partly because videos don't really get the same exposure that they did back in the golden days. Like back in the days when I would just sit in front of Much Music and just wait for whatever the next music video might be. At the same time, though, social media is like this place where, you know, visual clips get a lot of share. You know, it's such a visual medium. What do you see as like the role in the music video in this moment right now?
Yeah, it's a couple of questions. It's definitely, landscape's changed a lot. I think we're coming out of kind of a, I don't want to say dark time, because there's been so many amazing videos, but a time where like, you know, they've been devalued more and more because they're expensive to make. And a lot of times it's like, oh, let's just do little short marketing clips, or it's better if you just get
or like a lyric video sometimes that people do, like an animated little thing.
Yeah, or just a visualizer, or like they just want, you know, just content, you know, not which, you know, I get from that perspective, but at the end of the day, it's like music videos are art, and they should be seen as that. And it's really, as far as like, you know, legacy to artists, I think it's important. No one's gonna be looking at like the content from an album rollout in 5 years, you know? And I also think like it is changing. I think like, honestly, TikTok has been really great for like independent video space in general. Like a lot of just, you know, filmmakers out in the middle of nowhere with their own, you know, camera have been able to make stuff that's, you know, gone super viral and new doors open, and like, or just like appreciation from lots of people who wouldn't have found their content on like Instagram or Twitter. Yeah, there's so much art being made. It's awesome.
Incredible. Well, that gives me heart. Sterling LaRose, congratulations again on winning the Prism Prize, and thank you so much for being on Commotion.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. This was super fun. I just want to thank the Academy and Prism for the award. Means a lot to me, and really appreciate it, and love the mission and what they do is great and really important to the space.
Came a long way from the Ville, damn right. We done made it here without a deal, damn right. Fake ones always tell me keep it real, but it's cameras on the cameras. I'ma tell you how I feel.
I walk it like I talk it, oh yeah, damn right. You ain't know me, shut the f when you talking, damn right. Man, I came up from the bottom, now we popping, damn right. Nowadays it's
That's a bit of Snotty Nose Rez Kids with Damn Right. Man, what a song. Before that, you heard my conversation with Sterling LaRose. He directed the music video for the song, and he just won the Prism Prize for Best Canadian-Made Music Video last week. If you haven't seen the video for this yet, I highly recommend it. You can find it on YouTube. Hey, before I let you go, I just wanted to tell you about an exciting thing that happened. I don't know if you caught Commotion a week ago, but if you did, you might have heard this.
For me, a big goal is winning a stage. I haven't won a stage before. I've come close. So I'm excited for this race coming up.
That's a Canadian cyclist, Mike Woods, telling you he wants to win a stage at this year's Tour de France. And guess what happened?
Checks over his shoulder for one more time. It's a Canadian who has conquered the mythical mountain. Michael Woods wins on the Puy de Dôme.
It was so dramatic. Mike Woods comes up from behind. It is absolutely incredible. Mike Woods with a heart-wrenching finish at the Tour de France. He won after this massive, grueling climb all the way to the iconic Puy de Dôme. It's a volcano that has been raced for 35 years. Congratulations to Mike, and congratulations to the whole team. And that is it for our show today. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. I hope you had a good time with us. If you did, I hope that you come back tomorrow, because I'm going to be here. If you'll be here, we'll do it all over again.